The Salton Sea, formed by deposits from the carving of the Grand Canyon, it represents an integral part of the historic Colorado River Delta. Over the millennia, the river has meandered about the delta, sometimes to the south, other times northward, where a great inland lake, Lake Cahuilla, would form. And for all of recorded history, both written and oral, indigenous people were connected to the river, relying on it for food and water for their provision. But harnessing of the river, first for agricultural purposes and then to support urban expansion throughout the West, has brought great change to the sea and region. The sea's most recent filling resulted from a levee break on the Colorado, causing the entire river to flow into the basin for nearly 2 years. But that's but a small part of the story. In fact, once the breach was closed, the sea began a precipitous decline and would have long since dried up. But continued expansion of agriculture in the Imperial and Coachella valleys, and most critically, the dedication of the sea as an agricultural sump in 1924 caused the sea to once again rise. As elevations began to rebound, the sea saw a vast array of uses, from military training exercises in World War II, including practice bombing runs for what would become world-altering missions in the Pacific Theater, to later recreational uses including boating, skiing, and fishing, and became so popular in the late 50s and early 60s, it saw more tourists than Yellowstone, and brought about the onset of expansive shoreline real estate development. From Bombay Beach to Desert Shores, Salton City to North Shore, communities were springing up everywhere. But absent intervention, the future of the sea was well foreknown. In fact, at a hearing in El Centro in April of 1950, Mr. Evan T. Hughes, board president of the Imperial Irrigation District, described the Salton Sea as dedicated for use as a drainage and waste cesspool for Coachella and Imperial valleys. That a shortage of water in the future will make it impossible to ever keep water of the lake of such quality to make it desirable or even passable for recreational purposes, and that it must be considered there will be a greater pollution of the Salton Sea than they have in the Great Salt Lake. And the sea continued to rise. But that inflow of fresh water served to keep the sea's salinity relatively constant for decades, and in so doing, masked the inevitable looming disaster predicted by President Hughes. Recognizing the challenges ahead, a feasibility investigation was commissioned to seek means to preserve the threatened sport fishery and recreational use of the sea, consistent with its primary purpose as a drainage repository. The resulting federal-state feasibility report, reflecting the joint collaborative work of the United States Department of Interior and the Resource Agency of California, now CNRA, developed 4 separate plans for addressing salinity at the sea. All 4 plans were deemed to have extensive and very favorable beneficial effects and ranged in cost from $58 million to $141 million in 1974 dollars. But the project's beneficial effects were not related to the provision of customary project purposes, and authorizing legislation would be required, including reimbursement and cost-sharing provisions designed specifically for this project. That never happened and has been far too often been the case. A study was conducted and nothing happened. And the sea continued to rise until the rising levels began to flood communities and farms all around the sea. Steps were implemented to stem the rising water, which caused salinity to then rapidly increase, resulting in regularly occurring fish kills. Against this backdrop of rapidly declining region, the Salton Sea Authority was formed in 1993, a joint powers agency created to direct and coordinate actions relating to improvement of water quality and stabilization of water elevation, to enhance recreational and economic development potential of the Salton Sea and other beneficial uses, recognizing the importance of the Salton Sea for the continuation of a dynamic agricultural economy in the Imperial and Riverside counties. Its members then included Imperial Irrigation District, the Coachella Valley Water District, and Riverside and Imperial counties. In 2003, the Torres Martinez Desert Cahuilla Indians joined the authority as a full member. Today we commemorate and reflect on 30 years of effort in tireless pursuit of those purposes. and look forward with even greater expectations for the sea and the communities we serve.